Welcome to ICFlix. Today, I'm going to recap an American vigilante action thriller movie called Law Abiding Citizen, which came out in 2009. But before we begin, beware of spoilers, and kindly take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel, and smash the bell icon for more amazing videos. Without further ado, let's start the story. Clyde Shelton, a Philadelphia engineer and inventor, is in his house with his family. His daughter is making a bracelet for her parents. She asks him about dinner, and suddenly their doorbell ring. When Clyde goes to open the door, two burglars, Clarence J. Darby and accomplice Rupert Ames, break into his house. They push and tie him down. Ames starts to put all the things in a bag while Darby stabs Clyde. He mocks Clyde, saying, "You can't fight fate." Hearing all this noise, Clyde's wife comes there, and Darby also stabs her. Clyde's daughter is scared and she also gets stabbed by Darby. Clyde witnessed the murder of both his wife and 5-year-old daughter at the hands of these burglars. This leaves Shelton emotionally scarred. The scene changes and we see a man named Bray. He is talking to his colleague, Nick Rice, about a murder case. Nick tells him that he left the case, as the person he was representing committed the murder, and he could have lost the case and his conviction rate could have gone down. We see that he is very career-minded and conscious about his conviction rate. Nick is a very famous lawyer and his conviction rate is 96%, indicating that he wins most of his cases. Next, we see Nick chatting with his senior Jonas Cantrell. He is discussing a client and asks about progress in his case. The client is none other than Clyde. Nick tells Jonas that he wants to talk to Judge Laura Birch to have a deal with her. Jonas advises him against it, but he says that he can't risk losing the case. Nick then meets Clyde. He tells him that the case was compromised by a bungled forensic investigation, and Clyde's testimony cannot incriminate either man because he blacked out during the incident. Nick tells him that he will strike a deal with Darby. In return for pleading guilty to third-degree murder, he will provide testimony that will send Ames to death row for what is, essentially, a robbery charge. Clyde asks about Darby's punishment, and Nick tells him that he will also get 3 years sentence at least. Clyde does not agree and he also wants Darby to get a death sentence, as he is the one who killed his wife and daughter. Clyde disagrees with this deal, but Nick is interested in maintaining his conviction rate and makes a secret deal with Darby. The next day in the court, when Nick is taking a sign from Darby, he asks him if he is married and Nick shut him down. In response, Darby says, "You can't fight fate," the same thing that he told Clyde. The judge sentences Darby to 3 years in prison and asks for Rupert Ames to be caught and prosecuted. Nick exits the court along with Jason. He gets surrounded by media, and that's when Darby gets there and shakes hands with him. Nick is internally getting very angry at him and Clyde is seeing this whole scene from afar. Clyde is left feeling betrayed and feels like Nick saved Darby. We then see Nick with his wife, who is pregnant. The movie shifts to 10 years later. Nick has a daughter named Denise and he loves her very much. Nick's wife comes there and asks him to attend his daughter's music recital. He tells her that he is very busy and that he will just watch the DVD of the music recital. Then Denise is shown performing on stage and her mother Kelly is watching her sitting in the audience. Nick is attending the execution of Ames. Ames is to be executed via lethal injection, which will kill him without any pain. Ames is injected, but due to an alteration in the chemicals, instead of a painless death, he dies in agonizing pain. Sheriff finds something near the machine. It is the container of the infection. Nick analyzes it and sees that "You can't fight fate" is written on it. He remembers that Darby said it to him 10 years ago in court and he doubts that Darby messed with the machine, leading to the painful death of Ames. This evidence points toward Darby. Nick and the police leave toward Darby's house. He is alerted to the approaching police by a mysterious caller. Darby peeks outside the window and sees the police are there. The caller tells him about a pistol he can use to his advantage. When Darby asks why is he helping him, the caller replies that he doesn't want to see Darby in jail. The caller tells him if he wants to escape the police, he will have to come to where he is. He asks him to sit in the police cruiser and take a gun that is in drawer. Darby does as he is told and takes the policeman hostage and asks him to drive toward an abandoned warehouse. At the meeting place, the police officer takes off his disguise and reveals himself to be Clyde. And he brought Darby here to take revenge on him. Darby realizes that the caller was also him. Darby tries to shoot him with the pistol, only to discover it is a trick gun, injecting him with tetrodotoxin, paralyzing him, but leaving him fully conscious. After restraining him and making preparations to ensure his prolonged awareness, Clyde slowly tortures and dismembers Darby, saying the words Darby told him 10 years before, "You can't fight fate." Clyde also records the process. Later, Detective Dunnigan reaches the crime scene along with the investigation team. They find Darby's body in 25 pieces, and after an investigation, it is found that the owner of the warehouse is Clyde. Nick and his team suspect Clyde. The next day, a local SWAT unit bursts into Clyde's house to find him waiting for them, and he doesn't resist arrest. He is taken outside in handcuffs. Clyde stares at Nick in a weird way, making him very uncomfortable. Nick and Sarah enter Clyde's house, and they see that cut out of a newspaper with the pic of Nick and Darby shaking hands. In an interrogation cell at the jail, Nick covertly congratulates him for removing Darby from society. Nick then asks for a confession and tries his ways to make him confess. Clyde is unaffected by Nick's attempts and offers to make a deal. By all appearances cooperative, Clyde offers a full confession in exchange for a deluxe mattress in his cell. Nick laughs as he thinks who would confess for a mattress. Nick leaves the cell and Jonas asks him to agree to Clyde's demand, because they have no strong evidence against Clyde, and the confession will greatly help them. Nick reluctantly agrees. Then we see the DVD of the music recital is delivered to Nick's house by a delivery boy. Denise receives the DVD and plays it. After watching the DVD, she gets scared and starts to scream. Denise gets scarred because the DVD is not of a music recital, but it has the recording of Darby's murder recorded by Clyde. Hearing her daughter's screams, Kelly comes there. She looks at the video and is also scarred by it, and she informs Nick, and he gets very angry at Clyde. Next, we see that Clyde has a new mattress in his cell. He completes his part of the deal and confesses to killing both Darby and Ames. When Nick asks about details, he tells him how he used the cutter to cut Darby, and he hacked the shipping system and changed the serum to be delivered. At his hearing, Clyde opposes a motion to deny himself bail, citing obscure legal precedents. Judge Laura Birch, who also presided at Ames' trial, agrees, but Clyde launches into a tirade against the court's preference for legal technicalities over justice. He is removed for contempt of court. After receiving his mattress and delivering the confession, in which he confesses not only to killing Darby but also to having altered the lethal injection chemical that made Ames' death agonizing, Clyde asks Nick to make another deal. Nick smiles and says that he has confessed and is about to be put in jail. And asks what is it that's left to make a deal? And Clyde bargains to give the location of Bill Reynolds, Darby's attorney, who was reported missing 3 days before, in return for an expensive steak dinner from Del Frisco's to be delivered at precisely 1 p.m., along with his iPod. Nick agrees to make the deal. Clyde says that if his meal is not delivered on time, he will kill Bill Reynolds. Warden Inger demands multiple precautions while delivering the food, resulting in the food arriving at Clyde's cell 8 minutes late and his favorite song being played on his iPod. Clyde gives them the coordinates of Bill's location, and Nick and Detective Dunnigan quickly reach the location. They find Reynolds buried alive and only minutes dead, with Inger's delay causing him to suffocate, his oxygen tank having been set to shut down at 1:15. Dunnigan explains that because Clyde received his lunch at 1:08, they were 7 minutes late instead of getting to Reynolds in time to save him. On the other side, Clyde and his cellmate, who had threatened to hurt him if he refused to share, eat the steak dinner together. Clyde then murders him by using the steak T-bone as a knife and stabbing him multiple times in the neck. Seeing this, all the prisoners start to shout and the warden sees Clyde. He is sent to solitary confinement, and Nick also learns of this. Nick's assistant, Sarah Lowell, finds evidence of contract payments to Clyde from the Department of Defense, so the head DA Jonas Cantrell takes Nick to meet a CIA operative Bray who previously worked with Clyde. They learn Clyde was once a CIA brain working in a black ops think tank on unconventional methods of killing targets. Bray tells them to assume that he can see them and hear them at all times. He is always watching. He also warns them that he's only in jail because he wants to be in jail, and that each thing he does has a deeper meaning, and if he has killed his cellmate there is a reason behind it. When Nick asks how they should deal with Clyde, Bray advises them to walk into his cell and put a bullet in his head, otherwise they cannot stop him. As he leaves he says, "If Clyde wants you dead, you're dead." Nick and Cantrell convince Judge Birch to violate Clyde's civil rights and restrict his visiting privileges. Minutes later, Judge Birch answers a cell phone which explodes, killing her instantly. Jonas and Nick get startled by seeing this. At the prison, Nick confronts Clyde and says that he can't kill people for his revenge. Clyde says these killings are not about revenge but about the failure of the justice system. And if he had to take revenge he wouldn't have waited 10 years. He wants to fix the system which failed to punish the killer of his wife and child. He blames Nick to be a part of this corrupt system and making deals with criminals. Clyde makes a new deal with Nick, that if he is not released with all charges dropped by 6 a.m. tomorrow, he will kill everyone. Clyde is transferred to another cell. Members of the DA's staff congregate until 6 a.m. but nothing happens. They were all tired because of staying awake all night, so they are sent home, but bombs planted underneath their cars go off and kill those inside, including Sarah. Nick, Jonas and Detective Dunnigan are returning after attending the funeral when they are attacked by a robotic remote-controlled machine gun. An unseen man wearing black clothing powers up a remote-controlled drone armed with a rocket launcher and a .50 caliber machine gun, and kills Jonas as he is riding in an SUV with a security detail. Clyde was still incarcerated, so Nick assumes he is using an accomplice outside to help. The mayor of Philadelphia is very concerned and angry at Nick for his failure to protect everyone. She appoints Nick as the district attorney and asks him to find out who is helping Clyde. While looking for evidence that Clyde may have accomplices working for him, Nick checks Sarah's MacBook. He finds an email from a man named Chester. Chester was Sarah's boyfriend and he still helps Nick in the case. Nick receives an email with the list and details of all properties owned by Clyde. Nick receives information that points to Clyde owning a small disused garage next to the prison. Nick and Detective Dunnigan arrive at the garage and while looking around, they find a tunnel system leading to all the solitary confinement cells, along with a large supply of armaments. Apparently, over the past 10 years, Shelton had dug the tunnel system from his garage to the prison and when it was finished, he deliberately had himself arrested and sent to solitary confinement in order to sneak out of the prison to carry out his killings undetected and all by himself, and then sneak back into his cell the very next day. Dunnigan opens a small hole and finds that it leads to Shelton's cell, which is empty. From a small lab under the cell, Nick finds evidence that points that Clyde wants to do a blast in City Hall, where the mayor is holding a meeting. Disguised as a janitor, Clyde enters the City Hall and plants a cell phone-activated napalm bomb in there, planning to kill the mayor and anyone attending her meeting. Nick, Dunnigan, and Detective Garza infiltrate the 5th floor and find the bomb directly under the 6th floor, where the mayor is situated at a security meeting. Garza attempts to disarm the bomb, but is unsuccessful and warns them to leave it alone. The three men then decide not to tell the mayor what is going on, as Clyde will be watching and will detonate the bomb with any sign of detection. They then decide what to do with the bomb. Upon returning to his cell through the underground tunnel, Shelton discovers Nick there waiting for him. Clyde offers one last deal, but Nick says that he no longer makes deals with murderers, which Clyde appreciates. Nick says to Clyde that if he detonates the bomb, it's a decision you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. With his wife and daughter long dead and feeling that he has nothing to live for anymore, Clyde decides to detonate the napalm bomb anyway, but as Nick exits and locks the cell, he calmly says, "Like I said, it's a decision you'll have to live with for the rest of your life," which I think now is about 25 seconds. He then begins to flee the building. At the same time, Detective Dunnigan seals the hatch in the back of the cell to ensure Clyde doesn't escape. Clyde realizes that the bomb was placed under his cot, but merely smiles and stares thoughtfully at a bracelet his daughter had made for him which says Daddy. The cell explodes, with the last shot of Clyde alive being of him looking up with an almost satisfied expression. In the final scene, Nick is seen attending his own daughter's music recital, an event he had previously put off due to work. He rises with the crowd as they cheer her on after the performance. Which shows that all the effort of Clyde has indeed changed Nick and hopefully the system as well. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen. And don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments below. Kindly like the video and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. And at last, I will say, stay safe, stay well, thanks for watching.